Waking up in the Trump regime, it's like idiocracy, fascist Groundhog Day. You wake up, Trump makes a stupid offensive post. The markets tank. He then hosts some world leader. He says the most offensive things. Then you rinse and repeat. So you wake up in the morning and Donald Trump posts the following: the U.S. doesn't have free trade. We have stupid trade. The entire world is ripping us off. Then he posts this: the European Union, one of the most hostile and abusive taxing and tariffing authorities in the world. It was formed for the sole purpose of taking advantage of the United States, has just put a nasty 50% tariff on whiskey. If this tariff is not removed immediately, the U.S. will shortly place a 200% tariff on all wines, champagnes, and alcoholic products coming out of France and other EU-represented countries. This will be great for the wine and champagne businesses in the U.S. Oh, Donald, tell me about all of those champagne businesses in the U.S. You know where champagne comes from? I think not. Then he posts: the globalist Wall Street Journal has no idea what they are saying or doing. They are owned by the polluted thinking of the European Union. Now, Trump says this as the leader of NATO, Mark Rutte, was set to come into the Oval Office. The markets then tank over Donald Trump's statements. Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, comes in to the Oval Office, and Donald Trump, in the presence of the leader of NATO, talks about conquering Canada and annexing Canada. Watch it.
And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anyway. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S., just a straight artificial line. Somebody did it a long time ago, many, many decades ago, and makes no sense. It's so perfect as a great and cherished state. Keeping "O Canada," the national anthem. I love it. I think it's great. Keep it. But it'll be for the state, one of our greatest states, maybe our greatest state.
Guy's literally a psychopath. I mean, just listening to him speak, his lack of a thought process, and again, declaring, in my view, not trade war on Canada, but actual war. Then Donald Trump's advisors start showing up one by one on the various propaganda shows to say, oh, he's so good. He's the greatest deal maker in the history. So Trump's energy secretary, Chris Wright, goes first. Let's play it.
Look, President Trump is a businessman. Thank God he became elected president. And what we're seeing right now is a master negotiator practicing his craft.
The art of the deal. I'm going to tank the economy, make you all suffer so you can suffer more in the future. Oh, and by the way, this past month saw the highest federal spending in the history of the United States, $603 billion in federal outlays, more than any other month ever before, including any time during former President Biden's administration. So next up, after Chris Wright, you've got Peter Navarro, one of Donald Trump's top advisors. He says, this has been the best 50 days ever. Y'all love it? We love it. Yeah, we love it. Here, play the clip.
President Trump has had the best 50 days of any president in American history, and there's no sign inside here or outside there that that's going to slow down, because we got a lot of good stuff to go.
Oh, it's been so good. You've got to see your pensions get destroyed. You got to see your Medicaid be destroyed. Elon Musk has called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme. They're firing lots of people who work at the Social Security Administration. 70,000 people who work at the VA get fired. Veterans are getting fired. Government workers are getting fired. NIH, FAA, CDC, you name it, they're getting fired. The government is getting gutted. The economy is tanking. But this has been the greatest 50 days ever. Tommy Tuberville, MAGA Republican senator from Alabama, he has a different take on it. I guess it's also the greatest, but also we're feeling a lot of pain, but also no pain, no gain. We need to feel this pain, everybody. Play the clip.
And Trump's tariffs making America great again. It's a great strategy. If somebody's finally doing something out of the White House, President Trump, that is, that says you have to take an action in another country.
Yeah. No pain, no gain. That's what we used to tell our football players. There's going to be some pain with tariffs.
No pain, no gain, everybody. No pain, no gain. You got to suffer for Donald Trump right now. Then you have MAGA Republican Senator Sheehy. Here he says, who cares about the stock market? The stock market isn't an indicator of anything. That's not how the Trump administration or the Trump regime keeps track of things. Here, play this clip.
We all love a good stock market, but the reality is that stock market imbalance didn't necessarily benefit the smaller, mid-sized companies and average shareholders across the country. It didn't necessarily benefit Main Street that much. So I think we are going to see a correction there, but the reality is the stock market's not the economy. The economy's not the stock market. It's not uncommon for uncertainty to cause disruptions in that as they digest a new environmental, a new economic landscape that the president's.
And to think Montana used to have Senator Tester, who actually stood up for American people, as now you have Sheehy screwing over the people of Montana and the rest of the country. Speaking of which, you have the new MAGA Republican senator from Ohio, Senator Bernie Moreno. And here Moreno says, look, yes, things are bad, but just think about it. It would have been much worse if Kamala won. So it's bad, but it's better than Kamala. Play this clip.
What do you want to say about the tariff fight?
Look, we have to remember, step back for just 1 second. We have to remember that if Kamala Harris had won on November 5th, the stock market would be down 50%. Business climate would be a total disaster, and this country would have been on a path to ruin. What President Trump inherited was a disaster from Biden. We're going to fix it. The other countries need our economy more than we need their economy. They've been ripping us off for decades, and we want fair and reciprocal trade. And Canada and Mexico have to stop allowing fentanyl to come into this country and kill over 100,000 Americans. When they actually do what's necessary to stop that, we're going to stop. The tariff penalties will end.
Like screwing over the people in his state as well, and screwing over the American people. The lies after lies. Former President Biden handed Donald Trump an economy that was the envy of the world. That was the headline from the Wall Street Journal in 2024. The envy of the world. Unemployment at record lows, job growth at record highs, 40,000 to 50,000 infrastructure projects that were being done across the country, record GDP growth. America was energy independent for the first time. Things were going very, very good. We were focused on things like lowering prescription drug prices, handed it over to Donald Trump. All Trump had to do, he could have went golfing every day. Just let the economy go on the track that Biden had it. The GDP in first quarter would have grown 3%, 4%. Trump could have said, look how smart I am. Look how smart I am. But no, Donald Trump engaged in this reckless, chaotic policy by social media post. I don't even know what to call it. Poses a tariff, withdraws the tariff, imposes the tariff, says he wants to annex this country, that country, the other country. And he has caused chaos and havoc here. And in the rest of the world, by the way, other economies in the world are growing. I saw this chart, Brett, that Carl Quintanilla posted. It was a great chart. And it just basically showed that starting at the inauguration, basically the rest of the world economies started doing good. And then the American economy tanked. This is an unforced error of a recession, but it's actually more than that. It's an intentional, malicious destruction of our economy. Brett Mycelis, how are you? Jordy's still on family duty this evening. He'll be back next week. Great to have you here, Brett.
What a good dad. It's great to be here, Ben, and it's great to be here, everybody. Everything that they do is just predicated on lies. It's just one kind of giant Russian nesting doll of lies, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended in this case. But all their arguments are garbage because, like, if they had an honest, good reasoning for the things that they were doing, they would just be truthful with the American people. But they get on TV, they have to act like North Korean propagandists saying this is the best 50 days we've ever had. Oh, all hail glorious leader. They have to make up that They keep going back to, we have the worst trade agreements ever with Mexico and Canada. Whoever did these trade agreements with Mexico and Canada really screwed Americans over badly. And you just want to jump out of your chair and go, Donald, this is Donald Trump's deal. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. This is quite literally the USMCA, which Donald Trump negotiated himself. Everybody is abiding by this deal. Nothing has changed regarding this deal. And the excuses surrounding the fentanyl are quite frankly completely made up. They're made up excuses, and they're made up, especially so because these are on Canada too. And Canada, what, Ben? There's like 40 pounds of fentanyl that comes to the Canadian border. I think more fentanyl comes from the United States and goes to Canada than the opposite way around. And also they try to cite the trade deficit with Canada when I believe if you remove energy, it's actually a trade surplus we have with Canada, especially in manufacturing. So everything that they are saying are just lies. They are gaslighting the American people. It doesn't really seem like Donald Trump has any sort of long-term plan. They keep having to reverse their major policies that they are putting forward. They do the big showing to get the headline. They do a big showing to try to scare another country. The other countries don't back down. Trump looks at the market, sees it falling, panics, makes a decision that actually makes everything worse. And then it's just an endless repeat of this cycle that we are seeing every single day. I feel like I'm waking up in the movie Groundhog Day, reliving just Donald Trump's madness as he doubles down, triples down, quadruples down on these failed policies. And the American people right now are picking up on it. You're seeing across the board Donald Trump's approval rating just absolutely sinking, and on key issues like Trump's approval on the economy on the new Ipsos poll, 51% disapprove, 39% approve. Regarding the U.S. making Canada the 51st state, 80% disagree, 17% agree. Got to imagine that 17% is the most rabid of the Maga. It's a good idea for the U.S. to charge higher tariffs on imported goods, even if prices increase. 53% disagree. I could go through poll after poll after poll. Most Americans disapprove of Donald Trump and are now disapproving at Donald Trump at the fastest rate and at the biggest rate in American history for a president at this stage of his presidency. So long honeymoon, that has long passed. Now it's just the no pain, no gain theory of running the government, as Tommy Tuberville said, but all the American people right now are feeling is the pain.
One of the things I think is important is that you all remember that politics is also very local too. So one of the things that you can all do is go speak to your local school boards, go in front of your local legislators, go in front of your local community boards as well, and also reach out to your members of Congress and reach out to your senators, but also don't forget local. One of the things that I think is also very important that you do is let other people know that you're pissed off about this. I think because sometimes people feel so gaslit, they almost don't know, like, is this supposed to be normal? And you just have to say, this is not normal at all. This is dangerous. This is fascism. What this Trump regime is doing is idiotic, and that's what's causing the pain. Everybody here in this community, if you did that, if you spoke to people about it and the word spreads that, no, this is not normal, just that alone makes a huge difference. I'm also excited to learn that a lot of Democrats are now going to be going into red districts and purplish districts as these MAGA Republican Congress members and senators are canceling all of their town halls, and the Democrats are going to be speaking in front of these reddish and purplish audiences of people who may not otherwise have voted for them, and to hear them out and to listen to the pain that people are feeling as they're no longer even able to buy basic necessities for themselves. We have to listen, not just speak. We have to hear people and let people know they are being heard, and then we have to fight for them. We have to listen, though. It starts with listening and understanding what Americans are going through. I wanted to share this with you. I did an interview recently with Brendan Boyle, Democratic Congress member from the Philly area, and I think he summed it up nicely. He goes, Donald Trump's been a lifelong scammer, a lifelong grifter, a lifelong con artist, but he may have pulled off the biggest scam yet. I want you to watch this.
Yeah, let's just be clear. What happened in the 2024 presidential election is perhaps the greatest con of Donald Trump's long career as a con man. And this was the con. He was able to convince a lot of working class people that he and his party were on their side. And then in office, what was his number one agenda item? His bill to extend the Trump tax cuts, most of which go to the top 1% of Americans. The majority of the money literally goes to billionaires. And it is funded, it is paid for by the largest cuts to Medicaid in American history. $880 billion worth of cuts to Medicaid. Now, Trump gets on TV and he lies about it. He lies as easily as he breathes. He said, oh, I promised to, in his words, love and cherish Medicaid. Well, anytime Donald Trump promises to love and cherish anything or anyone, you know that that commitment is about to be broken. And that is the reality of what they're pushing. We had that vote a couple weeks ago in the House. I hope that it gets more attention than I think it's currently getting with all of the madness that's going on. It shouldn't distract people from one of the most significant votes of my time in Congress, and that is the largest cuts to Medicaid in American history to pay for tax cuts for billionaires. That, in the end of the day, is what Donald Trump and the Republican Party is actually about.
Philly, stand up. And to the rest of the American cities out there, you know, that's what's going on. That's what's happening right now. Let's talk about what went down in the Oval Office earlier today with NATO's Secretary General, Mark Rutte. Donald Trump, you saw the clip earlier where he talked about annexing Canada. He then asked the NATO Secretary General for help in annexing Greenland. I want you to listen to the question, because the question uses the word annexation. Like, what are your plans about annexing Greenland? Literally stealing it. Hostile takeover of territory that does not belong to the United States. And watch how Trump answers it in front of NATO Secretary General. Let's play it.
But we've been dealing with Denmark, we've been dealing with Greenland, and we have to do it. We really need it for national security. I think that's why NATO might have to get involved in a way, because we really need Greenland for national security. It's very important. You know.
And then Donald Trump talks about, again, while the NATO Secretary General's there, he talks about how he's told Republicans to bring up the issue of bullying transgender people during elections. But once the election's over, you don't have to worry about talking about it, because it's really only to get people mad during the elections. This is what he's talking about with the NATO Secretary General sitting by his side. Let's play it.
And I saw this morning where one of them is pretty well known, one is arguing, fighting like crazy over men being able to play in women's sports. I said, yeah, I thought that was tried. I thought that was about a 95, I think it's a 95% issue. But in a way, I want them to keep doing it, because I don't think they can win a race. And I tell the Republicans, I said, don't bring that subject up, because there's no election right now. But about a week before the election, bring it up, because you can't lose.
Talk about saying the quiet part out loud. And finally, let me share this clip, Brett, where Donald Trump in front of NATO Secretary General has this like delusional lie about how he invaded. Trump says that he invaded Los Angeles. He broke into it, he says, to take the water and then personally put out the fires in Los Angeles from about 2 months ago. Let's play the clip, and then I'll just remind people what he's delusionally mentioning here. Play this clip.
I broke into Los Angeles. Can you believe it? I had a break in. I invaded Los Angeles, and we opened up the water. And the water is now flowing down. They have so much water, they don't know what to do. They were sending it out to the Pacific for environmental reasons. Okay, can you believe it? And in the meantime, they lost 25,000 houses. They lost, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. But
so even if what he was saying is true, which it was not, he's sitting there with NATO's Secretary General talking about invading and breaking in a crime, right? Worse than Watergate, if you will, into water and taking it and then doing something with it. What Trump's referring to, though, is that he had the Army Corps of Engineers go into reservoirs in Northern California after the fires were already put out in Southern California, in Los Angeles. There was really no other fires at that point. And then Donald Trump had the Federal Army Corps of Engineers dump reservoirs, 2 billion gallons, onto farmland in kind of the northern central California area, nowhere near Los Angeles, so that he can say he turned on a faucet. He then destroyed the land of farmers because he dumped out the reservoir into other land. People who were in the reddish areas too of California, like Trump voters. And then he got rid of the water in full reservoirs that were needed actually for the summer when you need that water. And it had nothing to do with the fires in Southern California as well. I want to explain to you, because Brett, that's how psychotic what we just observed was.
Everything, it's so stupid. Everything he does is just so dumb and counterproductive. It's like the definition of bad governing, and ironically, it's the complete opposite of efficiency for this administration that is pushing this whole idea of government efficiency. We are just seeing move after move meet the backlash that it should be getting. We are seeing move after move just kind of backfiring on him, making the problems worse, crashing the markets, ruining the economy. And I was thinking back when I was watching that disastrous Oval Office meeting today, Donald Trump's comments about NATO from just the other day. I remember when Trump was asked, do you think NATO would defend the United States, or he was asked something to that effect. Trump basically said no. He said, I'm not so sure about that, actually. Now, looking back at that, I think what Trump was getting at was, if I invade Greenland or if I invade Canada, would the rest of NATO come to my defense? Which is not how it works. It's a defensive alliance, not a go invade your neighbors and invade other members of NATO alliance. And so, I think that's when Donald Trump demands loyalty from people like NATO. I think he is demanding that they follow him into these horrific plans. And he's trying to bully them. He's trying to bully our allies every single day. It's tariffs on, tariffs off. Oh, we're going to do this 200% tariff. This is what he woke up and did this morning. 200% tariff on all alcohol, all liquor and wine and champagne coming from the EU. That was his big plan, which then sent the markets into another nosedive. It's just one erratic move after one erratic move.
Well, now Donald Trump is expected to invoke the Wartime Alien Enemies Act to carry out mass deportations. The act was last used during World War II to detain Japanese Americans and to put Japanese Americans into concentration camps. This wartime law of 1789 would allow Donald Trump to detain or deport natives, people here, and citizens if he believes they are enemies to the nation. And this follows the Guantanamo Bay plan by Donald Trump falling apart. Remember, they said they were going to put 30,000 people in Guantanamo Bay. They ended up putting about 178 people there who were actually not from any violent gangs at all. They put non-violent people there, and then they couldn't even keep like the basics of the infrastructure they're going, and then tried to hide it and bring everybody back to the United States after putting those really expensive military planes on display for the kind of propaganda movie style photo ops.
Just think about this as an example of the waste of Doge and the waste of what the government is doing. They spend all this money and time sending migrants from the United States to Guantanamo Bay, a military prison, which should not exist in the first place, but sending them to a military prison where the most suspected, most violent terrorists, basically people on the terrorist watch, these are the people who are down there, to Guantanamo Bay, sending migrants alongside them. And even at the peak of Guantanamo Bay in, I believe, around 2003, Guantanamo came after the 9/11 attacks. Even at its peak, it held about 650 detainees. Currently, as of right now, basically. There's around 15 detainees, 15 terror suspects being held at Guantanamo Bay. And Donald Trump announced that he wanted to have 30,000 people in this area that at its peak was only able to handle 650 and was currently handling 15. They spent all this money. Remember, there were all those reports about the military planes, which cost way more also than the planes that they were originally flying. Ultimately, all they ended up doing was making these propaganda videos, getting their headlines, and it was just what a stain on American history for us to even do this in the first place. Oh, yeah, they also made that completely sick and twisted ASMR video. You remember that ASMR video where they had the migrants in chains and they posted a video as if they were like animals? Like, it's just some of the most horrific stuff that's all about making like a cops style TV show for the American public to act like we're doing something when they're not even doing anything.
Remember they put like Dr. Phil like on the street, and Dr. Phil this is real.
Yeah.
Dr. Phil was like questioning the migrants, why are you here? I mean, I'm like, what in the world am I watching? But by the way, that's why last month there was more money spent by the federal government than any month before in American history. We've got a lot to discuss when we're back, including a major order by a federal judge regarding the unlawful termination of those probationary employees. A federal judge says those probationary workers need to be rehired immediately. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what's going on in Canada now. We've got a lot more to discuss about Trump crashing our markets here, that and more. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
How good is that feeling of fresh, clean teeth? Now, I only used to get that true feeling twice a year after I went to the dentist, but that all changed now that I use the new Quip 360 rechargeable electric toothbrush. The new Quip 360 oscillating toothbrush literally revolves around you. Finally, an electric toothbrush that doesn't overcomplicate the most basic daily ritual. Quip 360 is a bold, simple design that comes in multiple colors and is ultra quiet for a super clean without being super annoying. Accepted by the American Dental Association, Quip 360 is scientifically proven to remove up to 11 times more plaque between teeth compared to a manual toothbrush and provide up to 2 times more whitening on day 1. If you don't absolutely love your Quip 360, return it for free within 30 days. If you do love it, brush easy, knowing you get a free lifetime warranty for purchasing on getquip.com, getquip.com, and the opportunity to subscribe to refill heads by mail every 3 months so you never have to go to the store. And now with Quip Perks, Quip is literally putting their money where their mouth is. When you subscribe to AutoShip, you'll be enrolled in Quip Perks to earn credit back over time. Free your mouth with Quip and discover the 25,000 5-star reviews and mouths already loving Quip. Just for listeners of the MeidasTouch podcast, get 20% off site-wide and a free travel case and countertop stand at getquip.com/Meidas. Free your mouth today and save 20% site-wide plus a free travel case and countertop stand at getquip.com/Meidas. getquip.com/Meidas.
All right, let's talk about aging better. Have you heard about senolytics? It's a class of ingredients discovered less than 10 years ago, and scientists are calling it one of the biggest breakthroughs for healthy aging and staying in your prime. I've been using Qualia Senolytic, and I feel the difference. You only take it 2 days a month, and it helps your body eliminate senescent cells, also known as zombie cells, old and worn out and not serving a useful function for our health anymore, but they're taking up space and nutrients from our healthy cells. For me, that's meant higher energy levels, faster recovery, and feeling years younger. And it's made with science-backed ingredients, totally non-GMO, vegan, and gluten-free, so you know you're putting quality into your body. Plus, there's a 100-day money-back guarantee, so there is zero risk in trying it. So if you want to resist aging at the cellular level, go to qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off and use code Meidas at checkout for an additional 15% off. That's QUALIA life.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for an extra 15% off your purchase. Thanks to Qualia for sponsoring today's episode.
Welcome back. Thank you to those pro-democracy sponsors. We don't have outside investors, so we are grateful for our pro-democracy sponsors. And while I'm at it, let me remind everybody as well that a few times a month we hold Zoom meetings with our supporters at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Again, we don't have outside investors, so one of the ways we've built this has been through our Patreon, and we have so much fun when we hold those meetings with all of our supporters. We provide a link only accessible to our patrons, and so we do hope you join patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And I got to give a hat tip to our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, who writes the best daily summaries that make sense of the nonsensical, what's going on in the Trump regime. He posts it every day on MeidasPlus.com. Go to MeidasPlus.com. You can subscribe there for free, although we'd love for you to become a paid subscriber to help this network grow. But go check it out. If you like it, you can then become a paid subscriber. But that's MeidasPlus.com. Let's talk about what else has been going on. So you have Howard Lutnick, who has really, to me, become one of the breakout clowns of the Trump administration. I mean, this guy makes a snake oil salesman look dignified. There's nothing that this guy won't say or do, and I'm not trying to mock the ShamWow guy back in the day or some of those infomercials, because, they did their hustle back in the 90s or whenever that was. But Howard Lutnick is basically doing the same stuff, but we're going to do Trump cards and everybody's going to be so rich. It's not a wow. It's not a shammy. It's a sham wow. It's a Trump card, and that's what I'm watching. I'm like, what in the hell is this? And it's why I think it's refreshing that we all go, this is not normal. This is not normal. And then you go to your neighbor. This is not normal. And then they tell their neighbor, this is not normal. Let me just show you the evidence as I would back in the day when I was a litigator presenting cases to the jury. Let me show you first Exhibit A, Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, saying, why are we even doing business with Canada in the first place? We don't need them. Here, play this clip.
Why are we doing all this business in Canada if they're not respectful, if they're not thankful, and they don't want to do it? Imagine.
Like, what does he want them to do? Why? Because they're our ally? Because that's the way trade works? Because they fought in wars with us before? Those are reasons, Brett.
Yeah, and this whole notion that, Ukraine needs to apologize, Canada needs to apologize, they should be more respectful. It's so dystopian and Orwellian and just like the opposite of reality. It's like, here we are as the United States of America under Trump, like punching Canada in the face, just sucker punching them for no reason. And then we're like, you say thank you, say thank you, say thank you. When you see also just the phrasing that Trump uses online, you see this continued. And by the way, I want to be clear, this is the language of an abuser, textbook abuser language that Donald Trump is using. And so, let me go through those tweets or those Truth Social posts from Trump that we brought up quickly at the top, because it speaks to this exact issue. Then we'll get back into some of the other things that Trump's advisors are saying. But you go to this one right here where it says, Trump says, the U.S. doesn't have free trade. We have stupid trade. The entire world is ripping you off. Bro, you made the trade agreement. Like, this is your trade agreement. The stupid trade, if you think it's stupid, then you think you are stupid. Okay, how about that? Let's go to this. I think this is incredibly revealing when Donald Trump says, the European Union, one of the most hostile and abusive tariff and taxing authorities in the world. Okay, let me just stop right there. So when Donald Trump does his tariffs, they're big, beautiful tariffs. Tariffs are the best tool in the world. Everybody loves tariffs. Tariffs are so smart. But when the EU or Canada or Mexico or whoever reciprocates with tariffs of their own, all of a sudden it is, quote, hostile and abusive. Like, the hypocrisy here is just out of control, and people are suffering for it. As we see with the markets crashing, going to their lowest levels, the S&P 500, by the way, is now officially in correction territory. That's when it comes 10% off of its record. And not only is it in correction territory, it's the 7th fastest correction of a market in the S&P 500 since 1929. Do you know what year 1929 was? The year of the Great Depression. That's the volatility. That is that represents the crashes that we are seeing right now in the stock market as Donald Trump's advisors go on TV like these North Korean propagandists and say everything's so great. Everyone's going to get gold cards. You're all going to be rich. This is the golden age. You're just going to have to suck up some pain. That's what's happening.
That's why, though, I think we should just call it the crash mode, not correction mode, because that's their kind of right-wing language that they go, oh, it's just a correction. No, it's a crash. Sorry, Brett.
No, you're right. It's a total crash. These graphs are absolutely devastating, and I don't have these ones necessarily here. But when you look at, for example, the graph comparing the beginning of the Trump administration, these 50 or so days compared to President Biden's first year, tracking that, you see Biden goes up, and you see Trump goes up very slightly from the Biden economy still, and then just crashes hard. I think every single day, folks are looking at their 401ks, they're looking at all this stuff, and when I always say stuff like this, but it's like, if they were honest that they really wanted to cut spending and they were like, we got to tighten our belts and we were doing it because the country was really in bad shape, I would understand it. But as Bernie Sanders often points out at these rallies, we are the richest country on earth. We were the fastest growing country of all modern countries, period, under President Biden. And Donald Trump has just decided to take that growth and ruin it for no reason. And when you look under the hood at what they are doing, you see all the chaos that's being caused by Doge, right? You're seeing all these hardworking federal employees lose their jobs, be denigrated by the Trump administration, be told that they're worthless, be told that they are leeches on the system despite their hard work. When you see them messing with the social security systems and these Doge kids going through social security. Yesterday, they had to reverse a policy where they were taking away the ability for social security recipients to reach the social security office by the phone. And then they got a lot of backlash, had to redo that. All this chaos being pushed into the system, you would say, well, if they're doing all that, I would at least hope there are some savings going on here, right? Maybe they're trying to really get rid of the big stuff. But the fact is, they're not. These are all things that are very actually tiny in the budget when they are going through these things, but they are enough to cause chaos in the markets. They are enough to cause families to be devastated, people to lose their livelihoods. And at the same time, they are trying to push through that bill, which would give $4.5 trillion in tax cuts to the richest Americans, which would more than undo any amount of paltry savings that they are trying to advertise, even in the fake Doge numbers that are listed on their website.
Trump is a sexual abuser, right? He was found liable for sexual assault in a civil case. He said on audio, we all heard it, that he grabs women by their genitals without their consent. And he said they let you get away with it when you are rich. Trump was close friends with Epstein. By the way, where's the release of those Epstein files that they promised? Remember, they handed the influencers at the White House, the MAGA influencers, a binder that said those were the Epstein files. They were Epstein's phone list that was released many, many years ago in connection with other cases of Epstein, by the way, which has Donald Trump's phone numbers and lots of phone numbers on. But if you look at those messages, just pull them up visually, Brett, because if you've ever had an abuser in your life, these are messages that abusers send. The caps, the attacks on you, the gaslighting. He's an abuser, and he surrounds himself with other abusers. And so they then go to the people that they are then abusing. You need to apologize. You need what? Why aren't you saying you're sorry? Do you know what you did to me? Do you know what you did to me? You hurt my feelings. Hey, Europe, you're standing up to me. How dare you? Why would you do that? You do that to me, I'm going to have to inflict pain on you because you're doing it to me. Trump is the one who started trade wars with Canada and Europe. They have to defend themselves. So they issued a combined $60 billion in retaliatory tariffs, which is dollar for dollar match the United States tariffs. And then Trump's like, now you're abusing me. Why are you doing it to me? All caps frantic in the morning because he's an abuser. And he should be one of the red flags that we tried to flag before the election was that his pathology was unfit to be anywhere near the proximity of power, not even in the position. He's got defective pathology. And you see it in how he's bankrupted most of the things he's touched in the past. I mean, I show it in my other videos. You go through his SEC filings and you see bankruptcy, 91, 92, 1994, 2003, 2004, 2009, Trump Taj Mahal, Trump resorts, Trump casinos, Trump this. Then you go through all the entities that went out of business, the Trump universities, the Trump vodka, the Trump this, the Trump mortgage, the Trump planes. You know, he can't run it. Then you look at his existing business, Trump Media, losing $400 million and only earning $4 million in revenue. That's less than like your local boba shop earns in a year, and it doesn't lose $400 million. And he's the president, and he can't make the thing make money. I mean, it's outrageous. By the way, it's why Canada's pick for prime minister, Mark Carney, is like the perfect person for the job, right? You've got the banker in Mark Carney versus the bankrupter and bankruptcy in Donald Trump. You have the banker in Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, versus the bankrupter and the bankruptcy in Donald Trump. You've got Carney, who was the governor of the Bank of Canada and led them out of recession, and then was the governor of the Bank of England during Brexit and really helped with a lot of the issues that were going on there. And you've got Trump, who probably can't even read a balance sheet. And the Trump kids who, when they were under oath, they didn't know what the hell was going on with their businesses when we saw what was happening in the New York Attorney General case. And then they're scammers. That's the thing, too. So when they talk about this, Brett, you mentioned the budget, where they're going to give 4.5, if they pass it, who knows what they're going to do.
Yeah.
4.5 trillion in tax cuts, though, to the billionaires while destroying Medicaid, 880 billion cuts to Medicaid, destroying the farmers, 350, $400 billion cuts to farmers and education. I mean, destroying people, infrastructure, getting rid of the PACT Act, getting rid of the CHIPS Act, I meant, but also attacking veterans another way, which essentially is getting rid of the PACT Act, but going after veterans and all of those things. So it's expected that at the least, it will add $19 trillion to the deficit. Trump regime one, the first administration, added about $8 trillion to the deficit. That was the cause of the inflation, because he was printing money recklessly and running up the debt. That's what happened. That's how inflation gets caused, the same way fires get caused if you light the match. Trump lit the match in the first administration. He's lighting that times 3. And now one of the ways they're trying to pretend they're going to balance the budget is they have Mr. ShamWow guy. No offense. I don't want to meet the Sham. I don't know the Sham. For all I know, the ShamWow guy is a nice guy, so I'm not trying to pick on him. And for all I know, you liked your Shammy. Was it a Shammy or is it a wow? It's a ShamWow. And then you go back to Howard Lutnick, who goes...
I think there are stories which negate that he may be a nice guy.
Is ShamWow a bad guy?
I think so.
Okay,
yeah, I think
he's a horrible guy.
I
don't know about the ShamWow.
I think he's done some bad shit.
ShamWow is a bad guy.
Yeah.
I dislike the Sham. I haven't done
like we don't need to get into it on this episode. But
I won't get into the Sham. Okay, I won't get into the guy. I probably hate him then. I don't know much about it. My point is that Howard Lutnick's a con artist. That's what I'm going with. I won't do that reference anymore. Let me show you. Let's play the clip.
You produce drill, baby, drill, right? And then you have the Trump card probably raising between $500 billion and $1 trillion a year. You've got a balanced budget. You've got a fundamental change of America.
The Trump gold card so far, Howard. How many people?
Well, we're going to announce over the next 2 weeks a pilot program, which is going to help Congress be able to score that in and help this reconciliation bill. But we expect tens of thousands. I mean, just the inquiries I've had, tens of thousands of applications at $5 million each. We are working our tails off to balance the budget for the American people and for Donald Trump. That's why they elected Donald Trump, and he is working really hard at it.
You say the goal.
The Trump gold cards, they're selling, just to be clear what they're doing, they're selling citizenship to Russian oligarchs and Chinese oligarchs, $5 million a pop, which, by the way, is under other United States code sections would otherwise be illegal. You can't sell citizenship, but they're selling the citizenship now with Trump cards. And when Trump was asked Russian oligarchs and Saudi oligarchs and whatever, yes, that's what we are doing. And they say, and it goes, Brett, back to, if you followed the Trump fraud trials and all of those things, they just make up numbers. 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, 1,000,000.
Yeah, why not just say we're going to make $100 bazillion? Like just
$1 billion. Everything's going to be
why
because they've got great plans because these Trump tariffs have been A-okay.
Yeah, the whole thing's a scam. Anytime I hear Lutnick speak, my skin crawls. Like there are certain people, like every time you watch this guy, I don't understand how even like a Trump supporter doesn't watch that guy and go like, "Oh, you're scamming me right now." like you are trying to rip me off. It's just it's the craziest propaganda. It is so incredibly obvious. But I think you see like even throughout these communities because you know people start understanding this stuff when it hits home for them. And so you may be a Wall Street guy who backed Trump. Once you see what's happening to the markets, I think you quickly start to rethink if he's really a business genius, which I don't know how you got duped by in the beginning, right? You could support Trump and be from an immigrant community in Florida. Once your family's being deported, I think you have a bit of a different opinion as to what's going on. And we are seeing various communities all across the United States right now having to deal with Donald Trump and what he's doing. It's hitting people on a very personal level. We saw a story the other day about a federal employee who was a Trump supporter and she was laid off and she didn't think that she would ever be somebody who would be affected by Donald Trump trying to make the government smaller. But it's every day more stories like that, but that's why we need to keep spreading the message. I will say the tides are certainly turning. We're seeing it in the town halls. We're seeing the people rise up, and that's exactly what we need. People to be rising up, standing up to exactly what is going on, because it's clear, you're not going to be able to rely on politicians all the time, as we see in various forms. So we got to take it and ask, what could we be doing for our country at this time? And so, thanks for being here and doing your part to spread the word.
It's why we cover all of Senator Bernie Sanders' rallies, right? Because we know corporate media is not going to cover. They rather cover Donald Trump playing the J6 insurrection anthem and normalizing that in Waco, Texas on the 30th anniversary of the Waco siege versus watch Senator Sanders speak in front of a bigger audience about helping workers, right? But now that we have a platform that gets more views than Fox and more audio downloads than Rogan, I'm going to use that platform to showcase what had never really been showcased before. Speeches where Senator Bernie Sanders and others who want to follow in that way, which I think is the right way right now, going to areas, reddish, purplish areas, or just working class areas in general, and speaking to people about what they're going through and listening to people and letting people know and looking at people in the eye and letting them know you care about them. Because here at the MeidasTouch Network, we care about our audience. The way this has grown, it's not because of Brett, Jordy, and me, although we enjoy doing the show together. It's grown because of you, the Meidas Mighty. It's grown because we've listened. And we've never forgotten that the strength of the MeidasTouch Network is the Meidas Mighty. It is this community. And we know what we're fighting for each and every day. So I think that's important. We got a lot more show, though. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after our last quick break of the show. It's 2025. Why aren't my blinds smart and automatic like the rest of my home? Are your blinds still from 2025? Look, there's a better way to buy blind shades, shutters, and drapery. It's called 3-Day Blinds. They are the leading manufacturer of high-quality custom window treatment in the United States. And right now, if you go to 3dayblinds.com/Meidas, they're running a buy one, get one 50% off deal. Look, we can shop for almost anything at home, so why not shop for blinds at home too? 3-Day Blinds has local, professionally trained design consultants who have an average of 10 years plus experience. They provide expert guidance on the right blinds for you in the comfort of your home. Just set up an appointment and you'll get a free, no obligation quote the same day. It's what I did, and then I put their blinds all over my home, except for right there because my neighbor's a MeidasTouch fan and she likes to see her green fence when I do these hot takes. Look, if you're not very handy like I am, just go trust them. They come into your house, they figure it out for you, and you're not going to regret it. I am so happy I have 3-Day Blinds. Look, it's 2024. I have so many smart gadgets and gizmos in my house. Why not do that for your blinds as well? That's what I did. I'm very happy. So right now, get quality window treatments that fit your budget with 3-Day Blinds. Head to 3dayblinds.com/Meidas for their buy one, get 50% off deal on custom blinds, shades, shutters, and drapery for a free, no charge, no obligation consultation. Just head to 3dayblinds.com/Meidas. One last time. That's buy one, get 50% off when you head to the number 3 dayblinds.com/Meidas and spell Meidas right. Meidas. Thank you.
PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. The app is really easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Now on PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite basketball players with players from baseball, hockey, esports, and much more. PrizePicks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. The second half of the basketball season is here, and the race to the playoffs is heating up on PrizePicks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. Don't miss your chance to cash in as the league's best fight for playoff positioning. Think LeBron James will get more than 24 points this week? Giannis for more than 35 points? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. This week on PrizePicks, I'm looking at the board and I'm selecting Jason Tatum for more than 8 rebounds. Download the app today and use code Meidas to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code Meidas to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game.
Thank you to our pro-democracy sponsors. Thanks to PrizePicks and also 3-Day Blinds right there. You see the 3-Day Blinds right there. It's been absolutely great, and it looks really good with the lighting. I think it's really helped kind of up the game as well. And it has like a little remote control thing that makes it work great. Fancy stuff. All right, let's talk about what's going on in these town halls. You had a Maga Republican Congress member by the name of Chuck Edwards from North Carolina's 11th congressional district. He decided to hold a town hall in his district. Let's show you what just went down. Let's play it.
The time is now to fix how Washington works. To that end, I was proud to vote recently for the House budget resolution, which provides the framework. Yep. And you wonder why folks don't want to do these town halls. That framework provides for Congress to secure the border, to promote American energy.
You wonder why people don't want to do those town halls? Nah, because you're scared. That's why they don't want to do it. Look your constituents in the face. When you vote against their Medicaid, when you say that their Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, when you promote anti-vax policies by RFK Jr., who again spread lies about the spread of measles, while measles is now spreading, and he acts like, whatever, measles parties. I mean, and horrific things like that, spreading lies and disinformation that hurt and kill. When you're so cruelly attacking veterans, attacking veteran affairs, attacking the spouses of military members, while you're firing hardworking government workers and saying that you're firing them for performance-related reasons, as you are destroying people's pensions and their 401ks, as Doge, run by Elon Musk, who's too chicken shit to go under oath in front of Congress to testify about what he's doing, right? Why doesn't he testify? Oh, he's scared. And why don't you, Congressmember Edwards, say that he should testify? Isn't the role of Congress oversight? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? No. Look the people in the eyes and tell them that you're the person who's screwing their lives. Tell them, I understand why they're angry. And to the Democrats out there, listen to the people. Listen to what they are saying. If you do what Senator Bernie Sanders does, we'll cover your town halls. But Democrats too. Just because you're a Democrat don't mean that I'm just gonna show your stuff. You don't get a Democrat pass on the MeidasTouch network. Listen to the people. People are pissed at what is happening right now. Doge going through their private information, their private data, their medical records, their social security information. You can't support that. No one should be okay with funding that at all.
Yeah, no, it's a total disgrace. And as you said, we're in a moment where we need fighters. And that's why I think it gets really disheartening for people when we see things like Senator Chuck Schumer out there, the Democratic minority leader in the U.S. Senate, come out and say that now he is going to vote for the CR because the CR wouldn't be as bad as a government shutdown. The United States Congress right now has very few tools that they are able to use, the Democrats in Congress, against the Republican Party. This right here was one of them. And I think one of the most kind of painful things about this also was the sort of head fake yesterday when he came out and he said that he was going to oppose this bill and that the Democratic Party was united in opposition. Like, don't lie to the people, right? If you're going to fight, but it's almost worse to do what he did here, which is lead people on, say that they were going to basically play this game of chicken with the Republican Party, ideally force them to take out the bad things in this continuing resolution, remain united on a plan to keep the government open for 30 days. As Democrats, he basically made that whole thing up and just decided to cave today and opened up the caucus to do the same if they so choose. So we'll see how the vote goes. The vote is scheduled for Friday, but now that Schumer is saying that, I think it changes the calculation from what we saw yesterday. But we need people right now who are built for this moment. We need people who are fighters right now, and we need people who are messengers. You need people who are going to get out there and are going to be able to really appropriately say the stakes of what is going on here and be clear here, because even in the latest polls, there was a poll from Quinnipiac that was released earlier, I believe it was them, that said when you added up the amount of people who blame Donald Trump for a potential government shutdown and blame the Republican Party for a government shutdown, it was around 52 or 53% of the total people blamed one of them for the shutdown, when the number who blamed the Democrats was 32%. So that's just an initial data point right there. Now imagine if you actually explain to your constituents that you are standing up to not allow Doge to continue to make cuts to the American people's programs, that you are going to stand up and not accept this budget that is being forced down by the Republican Party without the inputs of the Democrats, giving Musk, giving Trump free reign to do what they want. Just stand up, just fight, and show people that you're going to fight. That's what people want right now. And I think that's the source of so much frustration. At the same time, that's why I like seeing the people rising up at these town halls and doing these things, because ultimately people need to take it into their own hands and make their voices heard and show their frustration, no matter who their frustration is aimed against, whether it's aimed at, honestly, anybody at this point. But you should be making your voices heard.
And by the way, you don't even have to govern by the polls, govern by the people, right? Listen to what the people are saying. Listen to the pain that they're feeling, and don't be afraid, and just go out there and fight for the people. That's why you should be doing this. Don't fight for your job. Fight for the people. Take a listen to this. MeidasTouch broke this story. We got the audio first from Tom Barrett's phone town hall. This MAGA Republicans from Michigan's 7th Congressional District. It's a +1.5 Trump district. So he was too scared to look people in the eye. So he said on this telephone town hall, if you support Doge, press this. If you don't support Doge, press that. Here, watch what went down.
We'll go ahead and move on to our second poll question. And that question is, do you approve of the Department of Government Efficiency's mission to streamline the federal government and reduce spending? Again, this question is regarding Doge. Do you approve of the Department of Government Efficiency's mission to streamline the federal government and reduce spending? Press 1 for yes and press 2 for no. Again, that's 1 for yes and 2 for no. Our results are coming in, and it's at 70% for no, and 30% for yes. That's 70% for no and 30% for yes for the approval of DOJ's mission to streamline the federal government and reduce spending.
By the way, even the framework to the question
That's what I was going to say.
was misleading, and people still saw through it. I want to play this for you too. When I say listen to the people, this one really pulled at my heart and almost brought tears to my eyes when I heard this caller who called into C-SPAN. She's from Ohio. And you can hear in her voice the pain that she feels, how scared she is. And there are, I know, tens of millions of people who feel the way she does. This is why I say listen to what the voters, listen to what the people, stop voters, people, human beings, listen to what the human beings who live in this country are saying when they're being treated like trash, worse than trash, by the Trump regime. Here, play it.
For Social Security and Medicare as key targets. He said there will be steep reductions. Elon Musk said Social Security was a Ponzi scheme. I'm so scared once these things are gone, you're not going to be able to help because he's also ruining the stock market. So people who had a median income won't be able to help the people who have no food to eat. So please pay attention.
All right.
That's how people feel right now. And if you can't meet that moment as a politician right now, what I just played for you doesn't make you want to fight for that person, you need another job. You shouldn't be doing your work. You shouldn't be representing people. You're unfit. You're unfit. The same way, frankly, Trump is unfit by far, based on what I showed you before. If you don't listen to that and say that's who I'm on the side of, you're unfit, in my view, to be a politician, regardless of what political party you're from, regardless of what political. And here, this is Caroline Leavitt. While all of this is going on, this 27-year-old know-nothing who thinks she knows it all, the arrogance, she's like pink dress lady in America that like Kim Jong-un has there. Here, just watch what she says about the tariffs, and just watch how she says it. It's just what do the kids say? It gives you the what do they call it? The eek,
the ick,
the ick, the eek.
What do the kids say?
What do the kids say? They give you the eek. And play the clip.
Most importantly. And so the president will continue to effectively utilize tariffs while, again, driving down the cost of living in this country. Both things can happen at the same time. Just look at President Trump's first term as an example. When he left office, inflation was a low 1.4%. It was.
It reminds me of when I was in high school. There was a club called MetMonk, the Metropolitan Mock United Nations Club. And, people would like cosplay different things. And sometimes you would just take the side of like the outrageous thing just to like debate it. And I guess high school kids found that to be fun. And you would take these positions. And this isn't MetMonk, right? This is real life. There are real people's lives on the line. And it reminds me of incompetent MetMonk kind of practice. And I'll leave you all with this important ruling that came out earlier in the day, where a federal judge ordered half a dozen federal agencies to immediately reinstate probationary employees fired last month as part of the Trump administration's effort to rapidly shrink the federal workforce. The preliminary injunction issued from the bench by U.S. District Judge William Alsup. It's from the Northern District of California. I used to appear in front of him when I was practicing law in California. It requires the Department of Veterans Affairs, Agriculture, Defense, Energy, Interior, and Treasury to rehire the employees. And the judge said that he might extend the order to cover other federal agencies at a later time. And this was a hearing where the judge just shredded the Department of Justice lawyers who were unprepared and didn't have the facts. And the judge talked about really just how just disappointed he was in the lawyering, in their behavior, in hiding the ball, in doing this to human beings. The judge was like, I have never seen behavior like this in all of my years on the bench, words to that effect. And the DOJ lawyers were just kind of incompetent and didn't even know what to say. And so now, under this order, which I'm sure the Trump administration, the regime will try to appeal, they have to rehire the people that they fired. They're going to have to pay them for the unlawful termination as well, potentially other penalties. And now that they've shut down the systems, when these people go back for their work, assuming they want to go back for their work even at this point, it's just going to create more mayhem and chaos. And it's going to create more inefficiency because if ultimately in our system, let me be clear, if in our system, Congress, right now led by the Republicans, MAGA Mike Johnson in the House, and the MAGA Republicans control the Senate, and Trump controls the executive branch. If they want to pass something called laws, right? Laws, you're supposed to do laws that guts and gets rid of agencies and does all of these things, they can do that. But they're not doing that, right? Instead, they're having Elon Musk, an unelected billionaire, bureaucrat, the richest man in the world, although I don't know how much longer he's going to hold that title with the way Tesla stock is going, go in and just fire people and then lie about it and say it's for performance reasons. That's just not the way our system works. You can't just do that. And it's not like I'm saying you can't. I mean, federal judges are saying you can't because you can't. There's money allocated. These agencies exist because Congress passed laws enabling legislation to create them. And if you want to destroy them, you have to go through a process. And it's messy in our democracy. It's hard to pass laws sometimes. That didn't stop laws like the Civil Rights Act and Title IX and Voting Rights Act and lots of other acts, bipartisan, that now they want to destroy with Elon Musk. And let me just show you this clip of MAGA Mike Johnson. And MAGA Mike Johnson's like, well, I deal with Elon Musk, and he's got quite literally the biggest platform in the world. And so sometimes he says things like, I don't know, like I fired the head of the Ebola research and I fired the nuclear people and then I got to deal with it. Here, play the clip.
I think of it metaphorically. I get up every morning and I have this giant sort of control panel. And it's got 219 dials on it. And I got to make sure everybody's, okay, this one's, and then I got the President Trump dial. And now I have the Elon dial, okay? Because Elon has the largest platform in the world, literally. And if he goes on and says something that's misunderstood or misinterpreted about something we're doing, he can blow the whole thing up. So I spend a lot of time working with all these dials and all these folks, and I just run around all day and make sure everybody's happy.
That's not what your job is. I run it. What are you, like an intern? He's Congress has become Musk's intern, right? I mean, what is he doing? Like he's and by the way, that's not how I would even treat I would treat my interns far better than how he described his internship for Elon Musk, right? He's like, getting Elon Musk his coffee. I mean, that's what a co-equal branch of our government has become, as Elon Musk and Donald Trump do product placement, selling Tesla vehicles in front of the White House, and Trump has a piece of paper listing the cost of the different Teslas, and Trump reads off what the Teslas cost so he can help Elon Musk, and then he and Hannity go, we bought Teslas because Elon needs us right now. Where do these people come from? Where do these people come from? And we as Americans, more than ever right now, need to just say enough. We should have said it before, but I'm heartened by the fact that this network is growing, right? That tells me, look, it's great to beat Rogan. It's great to beat Fox. Sure. That's not why we're doing it. And as I've said before, this is not a spike the football moment for us. People are suffering right now. This is a time where all of us need to gather together, grow together, fight back together. Let's use this platform to highlight things that corporate media would never highlight. Let's do the things that you've always wanted to see corporate media do, but they've been too scared to do. And so that's our commitment to you. Every day, every hour, every minute, together. Brett, anything else you want to say?
Well said, Ben. Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.